allow me to provide for the record my reasoning for the amendment, which seeks to remove from the coverage of the bill 2 of the 3 Sanctions Acts, hence limiting its application to the Justice for Victims of Corrupt Foreign Officials Act only. My reasoning is as follows. Number 1, sanctions have multiple purposes, including domestic political signaling, punishing bad acts, and inducing a change in behavior. S-217 is consistent with the first 2 objectives, but runs counter to the third. A sanction that is irreversible due to the repurposing of a foreign asset would lose any power to induce the bad actor to change. Repurposing the asset does not add to any deterrent effect because the freezing of the asset is the principal deterrent rather than the act of repurposing. Of the 3 Sanctions Act, number 2, of the 3 Sanctions Acts which 217 will be applied to, the Freezing of Assets of Corrupt Foreign Officials Act, also known as FACFOA, is not actually part of the sanctions regime. It is rather a tool for mutual legal assistance between Canada and a requesting country to repatriate improperly obtained assets of the requesting country through negotiation. I believe it is inappropriate to impose a unilateral asset repurposing function on FACFOA, which should be about Canada working cooperatively with the affected country. In situations where the affected country is run by a regime that Canada simply cannot work with, it is, in my opinion, preferable to sequester the assets until such time that an acceptable regime is returned to power than to repurpose the asset unilaterally. Number 3, the other 2 acts covered under S-217 are indeed part of Canada's sanctions regime, but I believe an important distinction can be made between the Special Economic Measures Act, CEMA, and the Justice for Victims of Corrupt Foreign Officials Act, also known as Magnitsky. Number 4, CEMA covers sanctions that Canada has chosen to impose on foreign states, persons, or entities outside of a UN Security Council resolution. CEMA is very much a tool of Canadian foreign policy and is typically used in conjunction with diplomacy and other tools of statecraft. In this sense, a major goal of CEMA sanctions is to try and induce behavior change, which is why it explicitly leaves open the possibility of reversing the sanction. For example, a CEMA sanction can be amended or revoked by a motion signed by at least 50 members of the House of Commons and at least 20 members of the Senate. A CEMA sanctioned asset that is repurposed under S-217 would render useless the behavior change objective and, I believe, reduce the number of tools in our diplomatic toolkit. Furthermore, S-217 would not be applicable to a very large proportion of the assets currently frozen under CEMA because the proposed bill only allows for the repurposing of assets belonging to individuals. 5. The Magnitsky Act, on the other hand, is very much about punishing bad actors. Only individuals, I should note, not entities, which is consistent with S-217. And this bill, as suggested in its formal title, seeks to restore, quote, justice for victims of corrupt foreign officials, unquote. Behavior change does not appear to be a significant objective for Magnitsky, except insofar as it has a deterrent effect on would-be violators looking to place assets in Canada. A quick reading of the MP and Senator speeches during the debate on Magnitsky would confirm that Parliament's purpose was much more about justice and restitution than diplomacy. 6. Hence, I believe that while S-217 is entirely appropriate for assets frozen under Magnitsky, indeed, I believe it is the logical extension of that bill, the fit is not so good for FACFOA or CEMA. 7. It could well be that we move over time in the direction of sanctions as a tool that is principally or entirely for the purpose of punishment, in which case we could, at a later date, add CEMA to the coverage of S-217. I believe FACFOA would still be problematic. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, colleagues.